Thank you, Chris, and thank you for everyone for joining us today. As Chris mentioned, we're going to have a discussion today about how you can use the Datatelligent platform for higher education to address issues you may have within the student life cycle. As Chris mentioned, my name is Steve Wyken, the Chief Customer Officer here at Datatelligent. I'm fortunate to have with me Stephanie Jones. She's the Director of Student Enrollment and Success at Colley College. Stephanie, do you want to introduce yourself and tell them about your role and how long you've been at Colley College, et cetera?
Sure. My name is Stephanie Jones. I am currently the Director of Student Enrollment and Success. I've been at Cali for 27 years. I've been fortunate enough to work in multiple positions while at the college. So I've worked in TRIO, student services, academics, and now I'm in enrollment management.
Great. And again, we've been fortunate to be working with Stephanie for a couple of years now on some of the analytic solutions we'll show you guys later on, and have Stephanie speak to how they use them and the value they get out of those solutions. So the agenda for today, I'll start off with just doing a brief overview of some of the trends and challenges that higher ed is facing, specifically around enrollment and retention. And then Stephanie and I will have a conversation about how Colley College is using data to address some of these challenges around enrollment and retention. And finally, at the end, I'll do a quick overview of the Datatelligent platform and just give folks a sense of how that can be used to really make yourself a more data-driven organization. So let me start with the current trends and challenges seen in higher ed. So let me start with the value proposition. And this has been going on for a while, but as a lot of people know who are watching this webinar, a lot of people are starting to question the value of higher education. There's a couple of things happening. There's the cost of higher ed, and then the accompanying student debt that students are taking on to complete their education. And a lot of students and their families are questioning, is their investment worth it? Are they getting their return on investment? That factor, and there's other ones as well, but have seen a overall decrease in enrollment over the past decade of about 15%. So if you look at fall 2010 through the fall of 2023, you see a decrease in the number of students enrolled by almost 3 million. Okay, so that's occurring as we're having this discussion around the value of higher education. With that, if that wasn't sort of daunting enough, what's a lot of schools are looking at is what's called the enrollment cliff. Starting with the Great Recession in 2008, there was a decline in birth rates. So it's predictable to know that starting in 2025, there's going to be a sharp decline in the number of 18-year-olds available to attend school. So it's estimated somewhere over 500,000 number of 18-year-olds will be between 2025 and 2028 will be available there to attend college. So that presents another challenge for schools because they can't go to their traditional kind of population to pull from to attend their institution. And finally, there is, and we have all dealt with this in all walks of life, there are those post-COVID challenges that we're all still dealing with here. If you look at enrollment from the start of the pandemic to this past fall, there's been a 4% decrease in overall enrollment here. And some of those factors are due to the things we talked about, the cost concerns of school, the value proposition. But COVID accelerated delivery models of education. There was a move to more remote education, online learning, which is great for some students, but some students, it was a barrier to actually get to that school. They had problems because they didn't have the right equipment, they didn't have Wi-Fi, et cetera. So that was a potential barrier for them to attend school. And related to that is when folks aren't physically on campus all the time, there's a possibility that they feel less of a connection to that school. So that presented another challenge when we think of higher ed as far as retention, right? So you want to have your students as engaged as possible so they're more likely to come back in the next term. Because of the move to online, some students feel less connected to their schools. This slide here is just showing the trends over the last 5 years in enrollment here. And I highlighted public two-year schools, which really got hit hard during the pandemic here. You can see they had the greatest year-over-year decrease on those 2 years. I mention this because Stephanie works at a two-year institution here. But the good news is a lot of schools are now coming out of it. You can see public two-year schools saw an increase this past fall, which is great. And overall, you're seeing in all sectors, you're seeing schools starting to get out of it. But overall, like I mentioned, there's been a 4% dip overall in enrollment here. And why this is important is higher ed is still one of the best pathways to success in this country. Folks who graduate from college have a lower unemployment rate versus the national average, and they earn more over their lifetime compared to high school graduates. So it's still a good, and when people question the value of it, there's still reasons why folks should consider a higher ed education. So pulling all those factors together, what we hear a lot at Datatelligent from our customers is they're grappling with two kind of buckets of questions. The first is around enrollment, and they're asking, how do we improve the recruitment of our students, and where are those new opportunities? As we think about that enrollment cliff that's coming up here, they may not have as many high school students to draw from. So where else can you go to find those students to keep your enrollment up? And the next question is, once you get those students in the door, how do we make sure we keep them and that they complete their education at your institution? So how do we proactively identify those students at risk? And are there ways we can improve the overall engagement with that student to also improve then the retention? So that's a quick overview of kind of the landscape as we see it related to enrollment retention. So what I'd like to do now is bring Stephanie into this conversation and talk about what she's doing at College. So Steph, if I can, I got a couple of prompts here for us to talk through a couple of these things. I talked about enrollment and admission challenges that the overall higher ed is seeing. Are you seeing any of these kind of this happening, kind of these challenges at College?
Yeah, we are seeing exactly some of the challenges that you've already mentioned. Students questioning the value of higher ed, resources internally, and staffing challenges are also some of the things we face as far as how do we do what we need to do with what we have. So we've seen basically the things that you have mentioned. Yeah.
Yeah. One thing I was going to ask you as well, a lot of states are pulling back on their funding of higher education. Are you seeing that in Kansas? Has there been any decrease in the funds you get from the state to deliver your programs?
Yeah, they have changed the funding model in Kansas, so we're just now seeing some of the effects of that. So trying to navigate that is challenging. We're trying to think outside the box, which I think most schools are, how to be resourceful with what we have.
Great. Yeah. And like I said, we work closely with you. So I'm familiar with some of the challenges you're dealing with here. So what I'd like to get to next is that, and as you mentioned, you're trying to think outside the box. What a lot of schools are doing is looking to use their data, leverage all the data they have to work a little bit smarter, faster, more efficiently because of the challenges they have around. They don't have enough people to do the job, let's say. Funding is decreasing. They need to be more, like you're saying, more targeted in their activities, right? You got to go see different avenues, different areas to go look for students. So I know what I like to talk about next here is we have two solutions that in particular that we worked with you on. One is the enrollment and admission trend solution, and the other one is students at risk. And what I want to do is I'll go through and just give the folks on this webinar a brief overview of how those solutions work. What I'd like to hear from you is what you did before you had those solutions, And then how is your team using these solutions and what value you get out of them? Okay, Steph?
Yep.
Let me start with the enrollment funnel. So this is a solution that allows you to see your year-over-year trends related to enrollment and admissions. And it gives you the ability to dig into those stages within the funnels that are most important to you. So applied, enrolled, withdrawal, for example, and then see your conversion rates, how long it takes to get students from application to enrolled. And then the bottom half of this dashboard is showing you more detail. So you can see how you're doing it from a geographic per county by programs, and then see how your feeder high schools are doing. Okay.
Yes.
So I went over that quickly here, but I think people can take a look at this, kind of see the layout of the solution. But Steph, why don't you talk a little bit about what you guys do before you had this solution?
Before we had this, we were able to pull from our system the number of apps we had, obviously, and sort by programs. We could have reports created for us that would identify which students enrolled after they enrolled. But we didn't have dates associated with it. So it was difficult to tell what we were doing, whether it be marketing strategies or recruitment efforts, and how that related to possibly the increase of our application. So beforehand, we really were doing everything manual or requesting reports that we then had to compile. So this dashboard has been great because it basically puts everything in front of us together.
Mm-hmm. And then talk to me a little bit about how what kind of value you've seen out of this. You mentioned helping your recruitment efforts.
Mm-hmm. So when our recruiters go out, or when our marketing department does strategies, we try to look and see if we get an uptick of apps within, let's say, a 2-week period after that, in hopes to be able to identify those that are doing well, or if we're doing the correct things. So I feel like it helps us in that way. It also helps us identify for this particular dashboard programs of study that might be a hotter trend this year or this upcoming semester, and previously it was not. We work with academics then to be able to identify which ones have the potential to grow and we see the interest in. And also in our same thing in our partner high schools, which ones are we doing well in, which ones are converting to enrolled students, which ones we maybe need to get into a little more and see how we can provide additional services to them. Great.
Let me move on to the next one. This is students at risk or retention. This solution is meant to be a dashboard that provides you real-time information on how your students are doing, and identify those that may be at risk for not coming back based upon identified risk factors that the school seems are important. What's nice about this too, it allows you, and I'm going to go up here a little bit here to show this bigger here, is that you see then at the student table on the right-hand side, you're able to drill into that to see more detail around that student. So you can see the particular. So if there's a student with a particular high risk score, you can drill into it and then see their grades. You can see what's driving that, right? So it gives the advisor, the student success area, kind of in one pane of glass, everything you need to see to help determine, the course of action to try to intervene with that student. So Steph, can you again, let's start off with what did you guys have before you had this, and then go into how you're using it and the value you're seeing of this tool.
Prior to this, we have multiple tools that advisors would have to go to individually to get information on their students. And then at the end of the semester, I would collect all the information that they wanted to provide to me. As far as they're working with students through the semester, the students' plans for the next semester, whether they were enrolled or they were graduating or leaving, All of those were on spreadsheets, so everything was extremely manual. Once again, this allows us to have everything in one place. The advisors, all this information is still in multiple places, but now they can go to this one dashboard to look at all the information collectively. So it's been very useful for the advisors.
Great. And you did mention, did you say that previously a lot of this stuff was retrospective, meaning you would develop that kind of reports at the end of the term to kind of see what to do, correct?
Yeah, yeah. And
And
some of the information, like the risk features, we didn't have those. So being able to identify students who might have some risk value associated so that the advisors could reach out proactively and try to see how they could help. We didn't have those in place. So this does help in that effort.
yeah, I was going to say, because this is a real-time information throughout the term. And from a value proposition, I think you mentioned, or you alluded to, that your staff is a lot more efficient. They don't have to cobble together all those reports, correct?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
great, great. Let me move on. Let me talk a little
Hey,
bit
Steve.
about. Oh, go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, we have a couple questions for Stephanie before we go on. Somebody's wanting to know if the enrollment solution has helped determine any new programs to offer or to eliminate.
It hasn't helped, in that avenue as of yet, but it does help us identify which are the up and coming programs that students are interested in. And if we have the capability to expand those, then we look at doing that through marketing or other offerings. So right now we're using it to identify current programs that could grow. We have not yet used it to look at programs to close out. Not yet.
Okay. And then someone else asked high level question, asking to clarify what a solution is. So that one might be for Steve.
I will take that one, and maybe it'll make sense as I go through the next couple slides. But to us, the solution is, it's not just a dashboard; it's the end-to-end build that you need to, from grabbing the data from your source system, maybe combining it with other source systems in your data platform, and then producing the analytics on kind of the end user side. So I think that question I'll answer a little bit as I go through a couple future slides here on how the platform is set up.
Okay. Just a couple others. Someone's asking if there's any plans to integrate AI tools with the enrollment.
Yeah, Steph, I can address that one, Steph, here. I will say yes. One of the things that's nice about the data platform, once you get it set up, is it prepares you. It's a foundational step. And we'll talk about, we're partners with a company called Snowflake, which provides that cloud-based database or data platform. They're bringing their AI tools to that platform, so everything's all in one kind of safe, secure container instance of your data that you can then apply your AI to it. And so that's one thing. The other thing is, yes, we as a company, we're looking to integrate more and more AI where it makes sense around students at risk and enrollment.
And then there was one other, and I think this was related to the student at risk. Someone asked if there are any financial indicators, such as unmet need, that are indicated through this model.
Stephanie, you want to?
I think we have one feature in our retention one that identifies a hold code if they have outstanding balances. So it's just an indicator that they do still have something owed. So that would help us identify that there's an unmet need. These are the dashboards that I have. I know that we have several dashboards.
Yeah, what I'm doing, again, this is something in our kind of demo site here. I'm highlighting kind of some of the standard risk scores that are risk features or factors that we include. One of the nice thing about this tool, if a school finds a certain measure is important to them, we can include it as long as the data is there to support it. So something like the question asks, as long as the data is there and we can create a good measure around it, we can include it as a risk factor.
Okay, that's all the questions for now.
Okay, thank you, Chris. Let me just jump in here a little bit around the platform, the Datatelligent platform here, because maybe this will answer some of the questions that folks had around kind of the AI and other things along it. So the nice thing about the platform is it provides kind of an end-to-end, let me see here, solution or platform to unify multiple data sets that exist in higher ed. And then from there, you can build your data sets to drive your analytic solutions. And then you have a foundational component that you need to pull in your AI capabilities to add to your solutions. So this is a high-level diagram of what are the two buckets that comprise the Datatelligent platform. On the left-hand side, what you're seeing there are your data solutions. And so what we work with is that we build a data lake with all your source systems, bring those tables over in there, and then we create those data sets that are then power your analytic solutions on your right-hand side. So the things that Stephanie's using are powered by the data sets that we build in their data platform. So just walking through from left to right. So if you think the usual architecture of this is that we pull from your source systems, so be your student information system, your learning management system, it could be external files, it could be spreadsheets, etc. All these things are pulled in through data pipelines into there's Snowflake. There's the tool we use for our data platform into what we call a data lake. And then from there, that's your single repository. Then we build your data sets off those data lakes, combining data that's important from the various source systems. So from your LMS, your SIS, et cetera, that then drive your AI solutions off to, or your analytic solutions. So again, what's nice about this approach is that Snowflake is a good company and a good platform that provides that safe and secure platform to integrate all your data, but also pull in your AI capabilities. So I know we're hitting the bottom of the hour here for the webinar, but just real quick on the benefits of the overall Datatelligent platform. What it does, it eliminates your data silos by consolidating all your data into one repository. It's a flexible and open architecture. Well, what that means is we can pull in as many different data sources as you want. I think, Steph, for you, we bring in smarter measures, right? If I remember correctly,
Yes.
from surveys. So you may have things that are not in your SIS or LMS, but other things. We can bring them into Snowflake and then drive your analytics from that. It's also very scalable because once you have everything in that data lake, building on all your analytics, it's really quick then. You don't have to then go all the way back to your source system and bring it in. It's already in your data lake. We just have to then do the build those data sets you need for your analytics. And Snowflake's a secure environment to have your data there, to bring in your AI capabilities as well. So you have it is just a nice approach to accelerate your data maturity and become, we always talk about folks become more data driven, right? So this is a good step in that direction. Chris, any other questions? I know we're hitting the end of the webinar here. Anything else that we can address?
We did get one other question. Someone asked if there were any challenges with adoption within Cowley.
Steph, you want to address that?
Like in onboarding the dashboard tool.
I think it's around like user adoption.
Yeah. Obviously there's always some challenges when you say, hey, we have a new tool and we already have 5 others. But I and I'm speaking mainly of the student risk dashboard because it involved all of our advisors. But I feel like once they've got in and they were able to see all the data in one location, it made it much easier for them, and they were more comfortable in using it, and just teaching them the benefit of it as opposed to going to 5 other places, like we said, and finding data that they didn't think to look for or didn't know where to look for. So we haven't had too much of an uphill climb. Once we implemented it, I think everyone's pretty much jumped on board and been very open to using it.
Yeah, and I would just add, I think one of the keys to that as well is Stephanie and her team were very involved in giving feedback and the development, et cetera, which is always helpful as well. So it wasn't something like handed on down by, up high. They had some contributions into the measures that were included, et cetera. And I think that always helps.
Yep.
One other question is can be the last one is, does Datatelligent take care of the ongoing maintenance of the warehouse? Is there an additional cost?
Yeah, so we our platform is like, we didn't get into it much, but we do things via a subscription model. So people subscribe to our services, et cetera. Part of that is we offer the platform as a subscription, which includes our maintenance of that platform, the pipes that come into it, the creation of those data sets to make sure that they're still there's always changes with data, right? There's new data that come, et cetera. So we're there to help our customers keep that platform going.
Okay, that seems to be all the questions.
All right. Well, let me go to the next slide. I'd really like to say thanks, Stephanie, for joining us today. I thought it's really good to hear from her perspective on how these tools can be used to make you work better, work smarter, et cetera. And again, I'd like to thank everyone for joining today. If you have any questions, feel free, here's our email addresses here. And I think they have yours as well, Chris. So please reach out if you have any additional questions.